I don't remember that. Where he was? Yeah, I mean, where the prisoner had the ability to like destroy light bulbs.
Yeah,
right. Like I didn't really get that either. But I liked the whole movie. I mean, I just thought it was a really good movie.
Nominated for 4 Oscars, by the way, so that's a good call.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't make my list, Michael Duncan Clark was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Best Picture nomination, Best Sound.
Was that The Prisoner?
Yeah, Michael Clark Duncan.
Away.
I'm sorry, did I say Michael Duncan? Michael Clark Duncan. He passed away. I don't think it was that long ago, actually, when he passed away. Yeah, September 3rd. Only 54 years old. Wow. So we're moving on here to number 3, right? I'm on number 3. Right. And number 3, I have to go with it just because of what it meant, and the first half hour is incredible. Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
Absolutely have to bring that one up. It's just it's a classic. I'm not going to say it's a happy film, but it finally brought attention, I think, to a generation and the warriors that fought in that war that was much needed. It certainly didn't glamorize it at all. It's just a wonderful film that Spielberg put together. So many great actors in that movie too. So that's mine, and I think for obvious reasons. Did you like that film?
I did.
Really?
All my friends did. I didn't dislike it. I just didn't go as crazy for it. I think because everybody loved it so much, and I saw it after the fact, I had expectations super high, and I do like movies like that. But I didn't care for it. It kind of bored me at times.
Well, I can understand that. I can understand that. The first half hour, though, where they're taking the beach, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
Oh my God. And Hanks has such a passion for that generation and for astronauts and for soldiers, and he has displayed that with his wonderful shows on Home Box Office. Did I just say Home Box Office? You have got to get that out of my vocabulary.
I'm telling you, at least you didn't say HBO.
Does any?
Do they say that out on the West Coast?
No.
Like here in Pennsylvania, like especially the older people, I think it's an ethnic thing. Instead of H, they say H. HBO. It's like saying Hana or no.
But
you guys say Hana?
No.
Oh God, it has
to be a regional thing.
It's so bad.
Must be.
Anyway, speaking of astronauts, my number 3 is Apollo 13.
And that's on my list too. What a wonderful film that is. And after I saw that film, the end scene's great, Nick, where he's walking. Remember, he's walking out of the capsule and he's saluting everybody, and he's made it back home, and he basically, what they say, when are we going back to the moon again? I think when we'll go back again, and we haven't been back. And after seeing that film, I was so...
Not only have we not been back, I mean, we've pretty much destroyed NASA, haven't we?
We don't do much.
I mean, we don't do much. The budget is non-existent. I mean, it's a shame.
Well, where's our sense of adventure, our sense of wonder?
I mean, this great thing that, spans back to Kennedy, putting a man on the moon. It is unthinkable that in the 1960s, what year was that, late 60s?
Yeah, or was it 71? I'll have to look. I don't have the right date on that.
Well, it was not the 70s. It was the 60s, and we were putting a man on the moon then, and now in 2013, it's not even a project.
Well,
to go back. I mean, they're talking about Mars. That's not going to happen for a long time. I mean, we can't even we don't have enough money to put fuel in our cars, let alone a spaceship that's going to travel for 3 years to get to Mars.
Well, not only that, we couldn't get people in agreement on we can't get people to agree on a budget, let alone a space project. Paul.
Oh, guess who knew? Who Debbie Dahmer was? John
Debbie.
Wayne Cowell.
Oh, of course he did, and that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. John Wayne knows a lot.
Great podcast.
And you mentioned Apollo 13. That is a Ron Howard film.
I know it is. Yeah, there's no shock there.
Yeah, just great work.
Great director.
By the way, Apollo 13 was in 1970. 1970. So you were right. Late 60s, and I said early 70s. So
But I mean, the project, the Apollo project, started with Kennedy, didn't they?
Of course, he challenged 60s, America. Yeah. We're going to go to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade.
Put a man on the moon, and we did. 1970. That was the great. And of course, I was not alive during that time, but to look back on it, romantic eras and whatnot. But that was quite an adventure for the 1960s, and with all the turmoil that was swirling around with civil rights, with Vietnam, and here we had the balls and the ambition and the creativity to put a man on the moon. And in 2013, as I'm watching CNN's ticker down to the debt ceiling,
why is
we're more concerned.
Why is that up there? That's nonsense.
Well, yeah, I'm so sick of that. Like, I used to watch CNN all the time, and I'm saying, as I'm saying it, it's my go-to channel when I'm not watching TV, just to have it on. But we look like a bunch of assholes all around the world right now because, we're sensationalizing this.
Well, what it does is make our country look trivial. Makes us look small.
Like idiots. We can't get along.
Whereas, getting back to the moon, think about what a source of pride that was for this country.
Oh, my God. Still, and now we've pretty much cut the NASA budget, down to nothing. I mean, we have no budget now. The government's shut down. It's really sad times today, Ty. And the sad thing is, it doesn't look like there's any light at the end of the tunnel. Of course, there always is, but what is it right now? I mean, they need to just and to keep us away from politics, but they just need to clean house in Washington. I mean, these guys are the biggest sociopaths. I mean, they're nuts.
That support is higher than ever for a third party right now. Higher than ever.
And God forbid it's the
no, not for that party. No, not for that party, but just a third party. And that's what happened in 92. And that's what fueled Perot until he went wacko and did some really stupid...
Oh, God. It gave us some really great Saturday Night
Live. Oh, terrific. Or I loved his running mate. Do you remember this, Nick? I remember the debate. It was Al Gore, Dan Quayle, and then Admiral Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war. And he's in the middle of the stage, and they come to him right off the bat, and he goes, "Who am I? Why am I here?" But then remember Carvey on Saturday Night Live?
I was just going to tell you, a couple shows ago, he said, who would take the daunting task of playing Johnny Carson? Dana Carvey could do it.
He could do it.
He imitated Carson amazingly. And Phil, God rest his soul, Phil Hartman as Ed McMahon on the couch.
Great.
That
was great television. That's great television.
What did he say? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are correct, sir. Every time Johnny would say anything, you are correct, sir.
What great memories I have of those old days of SNL, and no offense to the guys now, but it's just not the same. I know a lot.
No, but you know what? They went through it. They went through a down period in the early. I mean, I think it went off the air for a while in the early '80s. So there was right after the Piscopo and Eddie Murphy. They went through a down period until they got Carvey and Hartman. Speaking of Hartman, Bryan Cranston reminds me of Phil Hartman.
Interesting. Why do you say that?
And in Breaking Bad, because he kind of looks like him in Breaking Bad, and he kind of acts like him in Breaking Bad. And I think when you watch it, you will relate to. He reminds me of Phil Hartman a little bit. I'll tell you, he was one of the funnier SNL guys ever. I mean, Hartman.
Do you remember Hartman playing Bill Clinton?
Or talk about Reagan.
He could do it all. He could do it all,
and he was and his voice was just instantly recognizable. But that cast with Carvey and Hartman and
Dennis Miller,
Mike Myers, Dennis Miller. He was
Weekend Update. He was in the Seth Meyers role. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were fantastic, and then it dipped again for a little bit, and then you had the influx with Will Ferrell, who just blew SNL out of the water for a while. Will Ferrell and the hell's the big guy's name? That
Chris Farley.
Belushi. Chris Farley. You just had a Adam Sandler. That was a great cast. So this is kind of cyclical. I don't think that they're horrible today. But it'll come back. That show has endured, and I think it's 30 years now.
Yeah, and that's a testament to the idea of live television. It's amazing. Although the other night I was watching, and they had Arcade Fire on, who's very popular right now, the music group Arcade Fire. But some of those segments just go on far too long, I think, and it drags. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
It's still Lorne Michaels.
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
Yeah. How about Tina Fey doing Sarah Palin?
Oh,
Amy Poehler doing.
See, it ain't so.
Oh, it was great. Or Hillary Clinton being played by Amy Poehler.
Yes, great stuff.
Very
good
funny.
Stuff.
Very funny.
Who was the guy who played? And he's very famous. He's very good. He played. He would always play Al Gore with the lockbox.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
I just saw him the other day, and he's great.
He would do Clinton,
he did Clinton,
too.
And he's very good at. And I should know this because I was actually a fan of his, and I heard him the other day.
I had asked you about Debbie Dopper. You would have known.
He also does Chris Matthews from Hardball. If you watch that show at all, it's NBC.
Oh, how about when they used to do Crossfire? And I don't remember who played who, but they roly-poly Pat Buchanan. They'd go to him.
So funny.
That's enough. Wrong answer.
That's so funny. So funny.
Or when they would do, we're getting way off track here, but when they do Jeopardy and they would play Burt Reynolds as a stupid man, that was so fucking
Or they would have,
funny.
Will Ferrell played the host of Jeopardy,
Bush,
right?
Well, he played Alex Trebek.
And then who played Sean Connery, who would always...
That's so funny, Sean Connery.
Once again, it's the same guy that did Matthews and... Oh, shame on me for not knowing this, and we know who it is. Yeah, and I can't. It's at the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. And
are you on 3 or 2? You're on 2.
I'm on what?
We were doing a list.
Oh my God!
Trying to keep
going. The reason why I kept going is because I had Apollo 13 at number 2, so we're past that. I need your number 2.
Well, I had Big as. Oh no, I didn't have Big. Okay, my number 2 is Philadelphia.
Wow, great film. Just on the other day.
Totally depressing, but totally great for AIDS awareness, and great acting, and groundbreaking for that time. And kudos to Antonio Banderas and Tom Hanks, who play 2 gay guys.
Okay, obviously. Let's think about this. This came out, we're talking about Philadelphia, 20 years ago. Okay, 20 years ago.
2003?
No, 1993.
Okay, so now let's think about that. We could tie that into magic.
Sure. And so while people are much more accepting now, not nearly enough, even though in my state we have gay marriage, which is legal, thank God.
Right.
I know that. I know. And I'm surprised by that too.
Pennsylvania's a very liberal state, but we are a very democratic state, but I wouldn't say that we're very liberal. I don't even think there's workers' rights or labor rights.
You might be right. You might be right about that.
But and that was a big part of the movie. Remember, he loses his job because he has AIDS.
Right. So it really is a movie about discrimination. And the interesting dynamic in the beginning when Denzel Washington, who's a black man, who faces his own discrimination, is discriminating against Tom Hanks. Remember when Andrew walks in, wants him as a lawyer, and he won't represent him. It's it's only until Denzel Washington's character, and I can't think of his name right now, walks into the library. Remember Andrew Beckett's in the library sitting by himself. Clearly he's got AIDS because he's got the lesions on his face. He looks sick. He starts coughing and everybody's staring at him. And one of the librarians walks over and says, "Would you like a private room? Would you be more comfortable?" And
basically take a private room.
And Andrew Beckett, or Denzel Washington's character, the lawyer, looks at that happening, actually watches discrimination happen. And it's only at that point that he sits down and wants to help Andrew. So he actually needed to see the discrimination firsthand and figure out what an asshole he was for having booted Andrew out of the office in the first place. I can almost tear up just thinking about the film right now.
That's how good it is. And again, don't watch it if you're depressed.
No.
You really have to be in the right state of mind to watch that movie. It's very depressing, but just great acting and groundbreaking stuff again in an era when really AIDS had just realized that it wasn't just a game.
Right, because in the